back, y'all. I'm now just getting really settled into my, I guess you could say, office workspace that is for the time being. Because, I've been kind of moving a lot, so, you get used to one area and then you gotta move to another. I'm sure you guys could understand that, when you get used to something, getting reused to something else is never an easy task. But the adventure along the way is what keeps us going. Anyways, besides the point of getting settled into my workspace, you see behind me, I got everything kind of organized to how I like. Thankfully, this unit of shelving was right here. It's pretty cool. Anyways, we're getting to the fact that this is supposed to be a review for that previous build you guys saw on my social media with the carbon fiber Thundershot body and the teal 2022 carbon fiber. Man, I really am stoked with how it turned out because I'm not one to build with a pivot front, considered a pivot front, yeah. So it pivots in the front and also it's a dual AT. So not used to doing this, but here we are. This is kind of my way of segueing into the showing you guys the car. Not used to doing this kind of style, but with the background also being the kind of the same color as the car, not really helping. But there you go. Can you see? I think I can see. But this is the profile of the car. Really think it turned out cool because I don't see too many people do the body like this. Cut out the, I guess you could say, the cockpit of the Thundershot body. But let's pull the body off and go into, oh man, these little rubbers are always a pain, so bear with me. Okay, that went over in the pile of parts, cool. But yes, little rubbers are a pain. Hardest part, honestly, to do this whole car was just getting the AT and the rear pivot to function properly. Because you could obviously put things together and it just it'll look fine, but it won't function right. So it took me a while to get the dampener to come down how I like. I ended up using rubber band, I think they're the rubbers for the 18 or 19 millimeter rollers that they'll go on the outside of the roller. Just twisted them up and put them on the body damper, just the same as you would do with a lot of other open class cars you would see. But I added a mix with these rubber at the bottom and up top here. And yeah, so this guy and this guy, they're the rubber tubing. It's this rubber tubing. And I did that because it helps it settle down faster and be way more consistent. Excuse me. That one needed to come out. Anyways, so that is what I am using for my body dampener, I guess you could say return system. With that being said, and working with the front end here, I did not want this front bumper to go negative on me for the angle, because that angle is already very limited, because I tried to use only, I think it was 3.5 degrees this time, just so it could be as fast in the corner as possible, but still stay in on the LC. And it was a hard balance to find, especially with the car being a little bit heavy. It has having this extra carbon fiber down here and all. It definitely came out to being a little heavy. But going back to the front end, we decided to cut out this T-plate. And this T-plate here, this guy, if y'all could see, yes, here. The T-plate is what is preventing it from going negative. It is the same size. I cut it out pretty much the same size as that recessed part in the chassis, and it really prevents it from going negative. Like, I'm pressing on it pretty darn hard, and when it does go negative, it just flattens out almost, and it doesn't allow it to go negative. Actually, no, not at all. Cool. So anyways, with all the testing I've done, this car has not come out once on my home track. And I mean, it's not the biggest track too, and it's running a Hyper Dash, green gears, floating gear setup. It is, and I always run full charge, because when I go racing, I prefer running full charge and adjusting the brakes to full charge batteries, and always having to mess with the voltage. So going back to the car, with all of that being done in the front, I'm not used to this, so this also has like another 3 layers. It has an angle plate in there, and one more plate to raise the front up, so it'll clear for the rubber bands, and still use this underguard right here as a protectant. So when it's coming in and out of the track, well, it only hits the side here and not the rubber bands, because obviously rubber on anything is grippy. You want nothing to be grippy. Another reason why I, unlike many people who are racers, will tell you this little secret: take some sandpaper or whatever you use to file down, and just file your darn edges, guys. Just file your edges, because the car's coming back in the track. Carbon fiber, aftermarket or real from Tamiya, comes with really sharp edges, so it'll get caught on the side of the track coming back in. Smoothness is the name of the game. So if you can make your carbon fiber pieces have roundness to them, you're gonna be pretty prime. You're gonna be in good condition. So round off your edges for things that are connecting to the track. Now you see that I have really sharp edges on my body dampener here, really sharp edges here, and there's some places you could get away with having sharp edges and it just having it for the look, for style points, as I go for. But overall, at the bottom, try and stay with smoothness and roundness. Stay away from sharpness. Even if you're trying to just sharpen the edge to get like a nice point, don't do points, because remember, anything sharp or having a point will jagged into the plastic. Carbon fiber and plastic, FRP onto plastic. Don't make a sharp point. It's not a knife. It's supposed to be round. It's supposed to be a defense mechanism. So the car can stay from going out. So with that said, we're gonna go to now the midsection, I guess, of the car. I, unlike a lot of people, do this to my battery clip, and it's because I like to have my body dampener be level, since my companies keep it level. But yeah, so I add carbon to here, and it is, I believe, 1.5 or 1.3 mil. I don't remember exactly how thick this carbon came out to be for 2022, but it is slightly, and it's just enough for when you cut it right, it recesses itself a little bit, and on top it becomes perfect for the body dampener to stay completely level. Because at a certain point, yes, you could adjust here for the height, but you also want a certain, I want a certain height. I like my thing, I like things a certain way. And on top, I feel like with adding carbon to here, I break these sometimes and they pop off real easy. When you add carbon to it, hear that? Oh yeah, it clicks in nicely. So it's just another reinforcement piece. Little style points there too. With that, I did that to the battery clip. I have the heat sink in here because I cut out a couple of the plastic pieces for the motor cover. They're unnecessary, they're for rigidity when you don't have all of this going on underneath. So I cut it out, added the heat sink because I thought it was gonna be much more effective. And yeah, so midsection complete. We're running a floating gear setup in here. I don't want to fully take it apart. You guys know what the MS chassis looks like on the outside. It's a Hyperdash with a floating gear setup, green gears, I said that earlier, and floating gear setup. This is probably the fourth time I said it in a couple seconds, so I'm sorry. We're gonna move on, talk about the tail dampener. I did not buy this tail catch. I cut it out of just the car catch with my trusty old hands and blades. So it took me a little bit of time, but you know, put time into your work and it comes out looking how you want, right? That's the idea of it. So I had the car catch, had the time, and I didn't want to wait for someone to make me something and send it to me. So I made it and turned out pretty darn on point. Really happy. Added my little green light. No. Turn on. There you go. There you go. Got the little green light going. It's old, so I need to get some new ones. But when it is on and going, it looks cool. Moving to the back, after the tail catch, we got obviously the rear end here. We have done a pivot design. I am using hard grease for the pivot, so I can get this slow reaction. Oh, it's not as slow as it used to be because I've been running the car, but so got that. Using soft spring for a fast return. The idea is you want your bumpers, front or rear, to actuate before the suspension of the chassis does. So you want your bumper to take impact and activate before you see the center of your suspension here start to even shift a little bit. So I prefer the soft spring for the rear. Some prefer soft spring for the front too. I'm using hard spring for the front of this setup because it's having so much going on. I feel like it just gives it a little bit more stability. And it's still very smooth. Sorry, my hand keeps getting in the way. I'm not used to doing this. I'll get better at it, I promise. But yes, it's smooth, actuates very nicely, even with the body damper flopping up. And what I like about this one is the springs recess, or the whole AT system recesses into where the carbon goes, or around the carbon. So it took me a while to find the setup and a pivot setup that I liked, because I did one of my own and it wasn't a very successful system, but this one sure is. And we can't forget the body. Anyways, the body. This took me a little while of stickering down some cool stickers. I got some of my company, some of random stickers from other sheets I had. But the body itself is a cool one because I got the body last year when I went to Italy and I went racing with Ruben. So I have some good remembrance to it. And works well with the car since it's running a lot of carbon fiber. And since carbon fiber is naming the game on this one, it works out. So moving on to the bottom of here, I decided to do this because, well, I like the look, and for one, and two, rigidity of the chassis. I think overall the flexible chassis style is not, it doesn't make the car accurate. It doesn't make it consistent for it being a heavy car, and two, for it being a suspension car. I never liked that whole flexible style. I like having actuation of my suspension being smooth and it work fast and right, but not being like all over the place. It just doesn't seem like the car can be predictable. Green balls in your face. Anyways, yeah, it doesn't seem like it would end up being predictable if the chassis was so flexible, and then on top you have your AT system or pivot system, front and rear, and that's all flexing too. So I have now switched from having such loose chassis on my MS cars to tightening up the suspension of the MS and really working the bumpers to make them work right. So that's the overview of the new Thundershot 5-lane build. Looking forward to going to DXN and for round 5 and giving it a shot. If I don't make it there, I still built a pretty darn cool car, I think, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's my first kind of review of a car that I've done in a while, actually, because I've done them before, just not as in-depth. And yeah, hopefully I've gotten a little better. I feel like I've gotten worse at doing the reviews, but Overall, I'm enjoying my mini 4-wheel drive adventure, and stay tuned. We went to look at shops the other day. Have another 2 shops lined up, but that one shop we went to look at is looking really good. Price wise, space wise, all over, it's looking great, and it's in the middle of Glifada. If you guys don't know where Glifada is, it is like 15 minutes outside of Athens, and it's like the richest area in Greece. But it's very hard to get a place for a shop there of any kind because of how expensive it is. Thankfully, but to my aunt, she's a realtor and she does design here in Greece. She hooked me and my family up, and we got to see this place like that, and it's looking pretty prime, and like it's looking like what we want. Fingers crossed, we'll find out soon if it's gonna, obviously go through. But I'm staying positive. If this one doesn't go through, it's like buying a car. It's like what I keep telling myself. There's so many buildings and office spaces out there, just like cars. You go, and if one doesn't work out, the next one is going to hopefully work out and be for you. Things are meant to be or they're not. Sometimes you make them meant to be because you plan, right? But right now, we're done with the planning phase of big preparations. Now it's just looking for that space that says, it's Keep It Level Mini 4-wheel drive's home. It's gonna be the home base of the shop. This is only temporary for the time being, so don't think this is gonna be the end all be all. But with that said, thank you all for tuning in and listening to me talk nonstop for a good minute now, and enjoying this beauty, because she took a little minute to build for sure. This one took the longest out of all my cars. Obviously it should, since it has so many parts to it. But anyways, tune in later for more. Deuces. Laters. Bye.